Alright, draft science video. Hopefully not too long a one. A couple of comments. Day made another stupid video, but anyway, that's all there is. Some news, some new idiot. It's pretty obvious that you are misrepresenting other people's arguments, putting words in their mouths. That's pretty easy to demonstrate that. I mean, you could just quote something I said that you claim is putting words in somebody's mouth. So you make an accusation for which you have no evidence. And then he says, McGinn ripped you a new asshole in regard to your silly explanation of the speed of sound, and you completely ignored it. No, I read it, and I dismissed it as the nonsense it was. He didn't make any argument, actually. There wasn't any argument except calling people idiot. He didn't make a scientific argument in some way, beyond saying the molecules are already moving 800 miles an hour, 700 miles an hour. Beyond that, and that's a contention for which he provided no evidence of how he knows that's how fast they're moving. What else did he do? What argument did he make? Oh, that's right, he didn't make one. And then he posts a link to a Willie Soon guy, the fast-talking Chinaman on the subject of denying climate change, who, is being properly paid for, no doubt, by big oil or something, no doubt. But anyway, it's not my job to dismiss this. Like I said, it's not my subject. Someday I might make it my subject, but it's not currently my subject. But it seems clear, again, you people want to deny the existence. I don't know what you think. Let's say the dinosaurs and all the big plants that made the oil in the ground, let's say that never happened. So all that carbon was in the atmosphere. And all the carbon from all the coal on Earth was in the atmosphere. And all the carbon from all the bog, like peat moss and all that kind of stuff. All the methane frozen in the tundra. If all of that was in the atmosphere, you don't think it would be warmer. That's your conclusion. That's your scientific opinion. Then you're stupid. Really, really fucking stupid. Too stupid to have conversation with. So I won't. Alright, so then the other idiot, Hubris Hacksack, snipping fingers. So these are, I guess, are examples of things that don't require something to move the speed of sound. I mean, a snapping finger, you can almost, it's just so obvious what you're doing. You're putting a tremendous amount of pressure first, but you're physically stretching the skin on your finger and snaps back. So it's snapping fingers. Knocking on doors. Well, you knock on anything hard, you're compressing completely. The surfaces press against each other, and all the air gets trapped in those surfaces is pushed, compressed, and it pushes its way out very fast. So it creates a little fart, a little tiny fart. And that little fart is vibrating the material that it happens next to. And so, the knock that you're hearing is really the vibration going through the wood or whatever you're knocking on. It's acting as a sounding board for the initial little fart. So it's an amplifier for a fart, a finger fart. Clapping hands, well, that's another one. It's just kind of obvious, isn't it? We clap your hands, and then tremendous amount of pressure you create next to 2 layers of skin, and the 2 layers of skin flap really fast. Okay, stomping feet. Stomping feet. It depends on what you're stomping on, right? How much noise it makes. So it's always going to, again, have the same argument. You're compressing air. You think if I made your feet into, like, pins, there'd be any sound? If I put your feet into, little things that, and you couldn't scratch the surface or do something else that's obviously, breaking molecules, you think it would make noise? No, it wouldn't. Whispering, I mean, that's just super lame. Your vocal cords, your larynx, is basically just going, this is, it's vibrating very fast, and it creates a whole bunch of frequencies that your vocal cords modulate. and that's how you make every sound. And so if you can tell when you're trying to whisper that the sound isn't very reliable, it breaks, the frequencies aren't consistent anymore, so you can sort of see that that's that very mechanism. You're not running it fast enough, and it starts to not work. So, but yeah, not a really great example of sound whispering, but anyway. But yeah, there's pieces, your vocal cords vibrate very fast. What parts involved are supposed to move with supersonic speed? Yes, well, like I said, all the parts either are pushing molecules faster than the speed of sound, or the material itself is vibrating at that speed. But that's what you have to basically do. So, somebody could probably give you more detailed explanations, but I'm not going to do it. Again, it's not really my subject, but you really just don't get how, when you really think about everything that makes sound, it does require more energy going in, speed. It just makes sense, even thinking about how waves work, that they're not just movement, they're push fast. It's like pool balls. If I line up a bunch of pool balls and I push slow on the pool balls, what do they do? They just kind of roll off of each other, blah 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 blah, and nothing happens. But if I hit it hard and fast, then the vibration goes right through them all, and the last ball takes off. You get it? Don't get it. It's no point. Anyway, alright, off to Hofladay's mush stuff, crap, shit. So I suppose I should call him something rude. Pedophile a day, so, wants to suck a little boy's dick a day. But he's doing this daft science thing, because he's a fucking infant, immature asswipe. Little dick for a day. So I don't even know what this drawing little speckles is for, but anyway. So he's, I've been over this stuff, and he just, this minutia, for which he doesn't apply to any of conventional science. Because conventional science gives you no explanation of how magnetism works, no explanation how any nuclear reaction takes place, the strong force, the weak force, any force. Nothing. They provide nothing. And if they provide something, it's a virtual thing. It's not even a real thing. Dark matter, glue. And he has no criticism for all that crap. But he'll sit there and say, my whole theory hangs on some sort of bullshit that he comes up with. So in this is to say the most complete picture. There's two different, I'm claiming there's two different forces, polarization. And like polarized light, it's a real thing. It's a real shape difference of some kind, because you get a different reaction. Okay, and if you didn't get that different reaction, you couldn't have polarization. You couldn't have the north end of a magnet and the south end of the magnet, because both ends would be doing exactly the same thing. So they obviously have to do something different. So I explain these subtle little differences, and the difference is that when red force hits a red thing, it reflects, and when black force hits a red thing, it reflects at a perpendicular angle. So it basically exchanges something going perpendicular, and they exchange their direction. Now, it is possible that those exchanges could be at angles. It's possible, because it wouldn't make any difference. You see, just as much stuff would go this way as would go this way. And so the average would be this anyway. So it really wouldn't matter. So I'm not glued to any rigidity on that. It's just that I have to be glued to rigidity on the fact that the two forces can't do the same thing. So, that has to be rigid. In the sense that the red has to reflect, the black has to leave at one of those angles, and vice versa for the electron. The black force reflects, the red force does something similar to perpendicular. So he's this, it's just an exchange of momentum is the truth of it. And he's drawing pictures of angles on surfaces. And it's just totally useless. So he recognizes the thing's made of bits, and then he does this. Look at the angle it's bouncing off at. Well, yeah, if you want to use this circle to illustrate, say, a sphere, to illustrate the averages, that a sphere represents every angle. So you could say it hits at any one of those angles. Fine, but again, I don't know why this specific argument. You're not detailing how it's catastrophic to my theory that it doesn't do that or it does do that. So first you'd have to explain what the consequence was of the reaction causing this versus that, which would average to this anyway. So unless you can detail how it's consequential, it doesn't really matter. The point is it's not a reflection. The point is that one reaction creates force this way, and one reaction creates force this way or this way. The exchange takes place in that manner. And if you don't have a difference like that, if they all just reflect like BBs or something, and it doesn't matter whether they're red or black, then you don't have polarization, and you don't have magnetism, and you don't have electricity. So, I mean, what do you want me to say? I mean, there's such a simple amount of rules here, right? So simple. They move the speed of light, they have two polarizations, and they inversely react based on those polarizations with matter. So, and the fact that they can't interact in force on force. They need the matter bit to convert the red into the black. That exchange can't happen in the field. Force doesn't interact with force. It needs the conduit of a material bit to transfer something black into something red. Happening. An event. But anyway, I mean, this is such detail. Like, look at, doing all of this on the surface. Again, and my whole point was it gets absorbed by the object. The momentum gets absorbed, especially in the gravity argument, which he went on to next. So we'll do some of that. So here he's doing the gravity thing, and he realizes in the middle of his argument that, oh yeah, well maybe you're right, because there is a difference in the universe, blah, 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 blah. But he doesn't really explain it properly. This isn't about ultramundane things hitting it and pushing it. It's about these ultramundane things going into it and staying there. The force is absorbed, the entire body moves. So one little fish goes in, going the speed of light. The big fish moves much slower than the speed of light. So the energy that goes in stays in and moves the entire object. And it's that movement that creates the shadow. The shadow can't exist till this object moves. This object has to move to create the shadow on the other object. So, I mean, you didn't quite describe it correctly anyway. So he did some of this, and he did this, and then here he said, oh yeah, I get it. Somewhere in there. He said, yes, I concede it creates the inverse square law. He concedes that, yes, it will work. Blah, blah, blah. And then he'll later deny that, but whatever. So this is all this. And then now we went on to gravitational lensing. So he says he's explained the, he's arguing that he's provided an explanation. So his explanation is for why we don't see objects disappear is that the lenses are always so far away that all the objects we're looking at are in front of it. So there's nothing behind it to get lensed. Now, first, there's objects where things are actually rotating around these things that we have, that they have, where physical objects are moving around something with huge gravity. What is supposedly huge gravity. And what you would expect is because of their closeness. So let me just, I'll just make two arguments. So there's nothing, he doesn't explain anything here. He doesn't get to the point where, well, he gets to it and then just kind of evades it. The point that most of the stuff isn't going to be in focus. So when you're seeing something getting lensed in focus, he concedes the other guy won't see it because the light got bent. So he concedes that argument. Well, what he doesn't concede is that happens many, many more times. I don't know exactly statistically, but could be hundreds of thousands of more times you don't see something where it should be, rather than you get to see something you couldn't see. So the very few times the focus is correct, the focus will be incorrect more times. So a lens will make your vision very small. And you can sort of get that. I mean, what's the lens doing? It's taking one thing and bringing it close. So it's taking one little part of me is getting brought closer to you. You're seeing. And you're not seeing a whole bunch of other stuff. That's what the lens does. And that's the other point, is why don't we see that? If these are real lenses, well, it's 3 points. The other point I would make is, I mean, first you have the shape of the lens, and it's a huge problem, right? I mean, the shape of the lens is basically a huge fisheye. It's going to be like a globe or something. It's going to be so much distortion. So why doesn't it do that with objects that are close to the lens? So here's the lens, we're way over here, objects are over here. Well, any object that would be close, what it will do is it will get magnified and create like half this lens will be just white. I can put this at certain angles and you'll see just it'll just magnify huge something some other place and make it really big, a big flare. We don't see any of those. None. Nothing like that. And that's what you should see. It's like a big blobby eyeball in there. One sun getting really huge and blurry, really fuzzy. We don't see any fuzzy. Every single lensing image I've seen, just about, you've somewhere like to be a swirl, and then you'll see little dots of where it was a galaxy and it's made of little suns. So that's the other part, is the width of these things. I mean, all these questions aren't answered, and he's just pretending it's not a problem. These are huge rational problems with the theory of gravitational lensing, and none of you people care to be at all stringent in applying any kind of reasoning. You're saying, I don't care that it has other consequences. So again, Feynman destroyed the idea of particle gravity because it had a consequence he couldn't account for. And so he just threw the whole thing out. It's rubbish. Yet you people are clinging to lensing when it creates a ton of consequences, and you haven't accounted for a single one of them. Not any of them. Not all of the phenomenon you should have, which is you should see things huge, big giant suns. Suns magnified huge size. You should see giant blobs of light. And you should see a bunch of stuff, anything that where you move the angle. Because of the Earth going around the sun, you have a different view of the universe. Well, those two different views, you should see a different universe. A very different universe. Because that's enough of an angular difference that all the lenses change. And now the stuff you didn't see, you should see. And the stuff that was in the wrong position, you'll see in the right position. So the two views of the universe, like when they do the solar, I mean, this is just, it gets me so pissed off, because why do you let this, you sit there and be this nitpicking, minutia, fucking, whatever, Sergeant Butthead, detail-oriented motherfucker, and you apply none of those standards to their theory. Just to the new guy. Why? I mean, it's just such a bullshit fucking pile of crap you're doing. Alright, so, say for example this is the sun, and we're going to look at the same part of the universe. Well, we can look at it from two positions. Okay, we can't look it through the sun, so that's not going to work. So let's pick a location where the sun will not get in our way. So from these two different angles, we're going to look at the universe. All right, now that's going to create a very different. Every single lens will change. All right. Now, when they did the Eddington experiment, all right, the eclipse thing. Okay, so there's an eclipse. and you're going to look at the universe. Here's the moon, and here's the sun, and here's the earth. Okay, sun, earth, there's the moon getting in the way. So this is the field, this is the universe, all right, you're looking at with the eclipse. Now you have to find a position where the sun's not here. I mean, the sun's not here. Sun, yes, so that position would be, you have to wait, forget this thing, you have to wait till the earth goes around the sun and comes up on this side. So now you've changed this distance by not an unsubstantial amount. I mean, it would take 16 minutes for light to travel across that distance, or maybe even longer if you go with the, because it's an ellipse. But it's a minimum of like 16 minutes to go from here to here at the speed of light. That's not an insubstantial amount of distance you've changed. And now you're going to take a new picture of the same part of the universe. Those two pictures theoretically should be different, because all the lenses, okay, now have a different focal length. And you should be seeing things and not seeing things because of that focal length change. Things that were clear should get blurry. Things that were blurry should get clear. All kinds of changes should take place because you've changed the focal length. So how do you even explain that? Like, how do you explain how the universe, Eddington could actually use this image of the universe from this position. You could take that image, let's say here's a star, 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 stars in these positions. You could take that image, and it was close enough to exactly the same as this image from this different location, 16 minutes at the speed of light away. And those two images were close enough to exactly the same that he could detect whether something lensed. Now, if that's true, the same holds for the ones far away. The ones at every distance, the lens should change. Damn rain. Yeah. Damn lake in the roof. That's really what I'm saying. But anyway, so much shit to gotta get done here. I'd like to hire it done. So, I don't want to do it. Anyway, so we just kind of ignored my argument about how more stuff is going to disappear than you're going to see. So you destroy your vision more than you enhance your vision. So gravitational lensing, the way the science is providing it to us, it's all good. It's all win. We get to see things we couldn't see, behind other things. And nowhere do they give us an example of how the lens destroyed our vision. Not a single, I haven't seen one single description of something where our vision was blurred or destroyed because of a gravitational lens. Not one fucking example of a blurry object where we said, oh shit, that gravitational lens screwed the pooch there. We can't see that galaxy properly because that lens blurred the image. Not one single one, and that should happen maybe 100,000 times more often than the little perfect Einstein ring bullshit. And yet you'll pick at me, nit and pick, on these stupid little bits of minutia, and you'll never turn that same cynicism to the current theory that's based on absolute bullshit. And so much substantial part of it is built on this bullshit. Again, let's not forget, Einstein was nobody until they claimed he predicted lensing. He was nobody. Just about. Anyway, fuck you. This is bullshit. Fine. Make your arguments. I'm just saying you're showing your own duplicity. So unless, and hypocrisy. Your standards are double, and that's just a fact.